We are back doing another buy, sell, hold. Just a quick announcement. Join our Discord. The instructions how to get in there are in the description to the video. We'll answer all your questions, trade stuff, and hopefully put together some listener leagues if possible, if we get enough people in there. But we're doing buy, sell, hold here, and we're talking about two running backs, again, that are volatile, in my opinion, in our opinion, and, could maybe go up, could go down pretty easily, as running backs generally do. But first up is Rachaad White, 25 years old, just turned 25, is the RB14, according to Keep Trade Cuts, going at the 509 as the RB12. And he's essentially worth a first-round pick. 2024 201, I consider that a first-round pick, or a mid-first-round pick in 2025, if you can predict that. And then you see his numbers, really just looking at last year. He was good. He was okay in his rookie year, but Fournette was, taking majority of the carries. But Rachaad White, 13.9 half PPR points per game, was the RB14, which I was actually a little bit surprised. I thought he was higher than that, to be honest. I know PPR, he's a little bit, he's better because, he catches so many passes. He's RB10 in PPR, if you care to know. So, anyways, there, Brian, you look at potentially what you could get for him. How are you feeling about Rachaad White? Buy, sell, hold. And again, kind of in a vacuum, your team, we're not going to really depend on too much, like, are you competing or not? I do think a big misnomer is, like, if you're competing, you can never trade away productive players. And if you're rebuilding, you can never take on productive players if they're old. I do think you can sell productive players if you are competing. You just got to do it in a smart way. But anyways, Rachaad White, how you feeling about him?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about him this year. I don't necessarily anticipate him repeating what he did last year. He had 270 rush attempts. But I mean, he basically had no competition, and that might not be too different this year. We could see Bucky Irving take away some of that receiving work, which can be worrisome, definitely. But I mean, that's a big ask to just say, oh, this rookie's coming in and he's gonna take over this part of it, But almost 340 opportunities last year. I think that number does come down a bit. He wasn't efficient as a runner again, averaging 3.6 yards per carry. But overall, I think I do like him for this year. What his future is, I don't know. We talk about looking at what guys are going to do in that 2 to 3 year window, kind of, I think 2 is kind of even that gets a little murky, so kind of wait this next year, more than 2 years from now. So for the 201, I don't think I'm quite doing that, but I do like the 2025 first. I think I'm totally fine with that, especially because people are already talking about the strength of the running back class in general, and you just kind of be pushing reset on that age. I don't think he's really enough of a difference maker where he's going to get that huge second contract. I think he will be part of a committee going forward after his rookie contract. But I mean, the Bucs they obviously trust him, he's a big part of their offense. But yeah, the efficiency kind of scares me a bit.
Yeah, that worries me as well. You know what it reminds me of a little bit is Najee Harris. And Najee Harris was the RB, the top 5 RB in 2021, I believe. RB4 overall in 2021. RB9 per game, just led the league in touches, 381 touches, had 75 catches, and was just a beast. But the efficiency was not there for him. It was just pure volume. And, the volume was still basically, the volume was there in 2022. It did come down. It dropped by almost 70 touches. And so his efficiency kind of stayed the same though, right? And it kind of went down a little bit, but kind of stayed the same. And we saw what that meant, like for fantasy, right? It's like, well, what's happening? Well, he lost 70 touches. He was RB 14 overall, RB 18 per game, so he was still usable. And then 2023, last year in 2023, continues to go down. His efficiency rushing actually went up a little bit, but in terms of just overall touches, that went down, and RB 20 overall and RB 29 per game. So like it worries me when I see these super kind of inefficient players. If there's someone on the team who is going to can take touches away, they are going to take touches. If there's a Jalen Warren on the Bucks, that player is going to take touches away from Rachaad White, unless Rachaad White becomes this super efficient runner, which maybe he could if the offensive line's improved and things like that. So I think I'm selling for both. Definitely the 2025 first. I think I'm doing it for the 201. I mean, again, just looking at it, like that's potentially Bo Nix, Lad McConkey, potentially Xavier Worthy, Brian Thomas. You should get one of those four. And even Jonathan Brooks, which is an interesting conversation. Like, would you take Jonathan Brooks or Rachaad White straight up? Like,
yeah,
that's a tough one.
Yeah, I think I would just go with the youth and go Jonathan Brooks. Like, I think his perceived value is that much better. Like, it's a little tough. I know we say like in a vacuum, but I think that one is really a little bit more situational. Because I feel like you might have to make that decision sooner rather than later. Like on Jonathan Brooks's health, like we haven't heard anything great about that, and I don't think you should be taking Brooks like assuming he's going to be, a starter for you all year this year. So I think that one is a little bit more situational, as far as like how well can you compete without Rachaad White and the potential of Brooks kind of a thing. But yeah, I mean the perceived value is definitely on Brooks's side. He's 4 years younger than Rachaad White. Obviously, like he was the highest touted running back in this class, in a weak running back class, regardless. But I still think that I would just take Brooks there. So
yeah,
I guess maybe I put a little bit more on the side of the 201.
Yeah, when you start putting players to it, it's like, oh yeah, I prefer Bo Nix over Rachaad White. I prefer McConkey, Worthy. Like, we put all the names to it. It's like, oh yeah, maybe I would take him or take the 201. And also, just to touch on your, Rachaad White versus Brooks and situational, if you're losing a fantasy league because you went from Rachaad White to Brooks, and again, Brooks is going to give you something. It's not like he's going to give you nothing, even to start the year. I don't think he's going to start on PUP, but let's just say there's a 6 points per game difference. Like if you're losing because of that, you probably didn't have a championship team to begin with, potentially. So, yeah, I'm kind of out. And then one last thing on this is, the Bucks they made the playoffs last year. They won a playoff game. Don't forget, like they were like 9-8, I think it was, to won the division. It's not like they were this amazing team. They barely made the division, and they needed help. Like they barely beat Carolina. I think it was week 17 or 18 to like clinch it. And Carolina kind of, they could have won that game. So I guess my point is, like, if they have a bad season, which they could regress or just not make the playoffs, go 7-9 or something, or 7-10. This coaching staff could be completely different. And then I get really worried. I think about Dameon Pierce's situation. New coaching staff comes in, they like their guys, and Rachaad White might not be one of them. So, and I do like Bucky Irving too, to take some catches at least. Should we move on to the next guy?
Yeah.
All right. DeAndre Swift, 25.4 years old. Is that the same age? Yeah, about the same age as Rachaad White. Is the RB17 and keep trade cut. Going as the RB16 in startup ADP at the early 7th round. And he's worth a late first in 2025 or the 204. And there you see his numbers. He's actually been pretty good relatively. I mean, he was RB12 in points per game, RB18, then RB24 last year on a new team with Caleb Williams. DeAndre Swift, are you buying? Are you selling? Are you holding here?
I think I'm selling. I do like Swift as a player. I mean, like we've seen some a little bit of health issues like the last few years. Not last year, but he only missed one game last year, and it's not like he just missed like half the season at any point. But like he's not. He's one of those guys like he can rip off that huge play at any point, but I don't see him as like a workhorse running back necessarily. And he was playing behind the Eagles' offensive line last year. I don't think the situation is going to get any better than that. Basically, and while he was productive, he did lose a lot of goal line work to Jalen Hurts and the tush push. I think there's something ridiculous. Like, wasn't it like 5 or 6 times? Like, I don't know if it was always him, but like the ball was down at the 1 yard line.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, like not that it got to the 1 yard line that few times, because they would push it to get it up to there. But I mean, like, where big plays that should have scored went down there, and instead of those going to Swift, they went to Hurts. I don't know. I he's on Chicago now, so he's on another team. Not that he's old, but yeah, these sort of veteran running backs going to another team, another system, third one in 3 years. Like, I don't really like that situation. And I think it's a good time to cash out on him if you can get this and just kind of reset that that market, or not the market, but reset your roster as far as like getting a Trey Benson or something like that instead of DeAndre Swift. I think Benson's right around there in ADP.
Yeah, he is. I agree. I guess this is part of my problem with like trade calculators, because I don't think anyone's doing either one of these trades. Right. Maybe the 204, like maybe if someone really likes Swift. No one's giving up a first for DeAndre Swift right now, where we're, in June. Not even like maybe if he's like a monster in the beginning of the season, but like as of right now, this is what his value is. I don't think anyone's giving up that. So I agree with you, but I do think he is a potential, like, I don't know if I can say buy low, but like I want to try and acquire him for a reasonable price on my team, because I actually think he's going to be pretty good this year. Is he going to be a workhorse in the sense of like, is he going to have, Najee Harris like touches? No, but he's going to get dump off passes from Caleb Williams. The offense should be better, so he's going to have more. Even though the Eagles are a better team than the Bears, he's probably going to have more touchdown opportunities, I would say. Just because if he doesn't fall down at the 1, he could still get if he does, he could still get the ball. And yeah, I mean, we saw it his whole career. He's been very efficient. Has only averaged under 4.5 yards per attempt once in his career. And he's been he had 5.5 his last year at Detroit. Pretty good with the ball in his hands. Last year was actually not so great. But the previous years, he was averaging over 7.5 yards per reception, which is really damn good for a running back. So I do want to try and acquire him. If we're talking the 207, 208 or something, I'd be more in 204, or definitely not a first. So that's where I just feel like trade calculators come up a little short. It's like, yeah, okay, I understand you're saying these are equivalent, but no one's doing it, right? Again, it goes back to the freaking Disney VHS tapes we talked about.
Yeah.
You can advertise it for $1 million, but someone has to buy it. So
as you were talking, I'm combing through the Dynasty Daddy trade database, and he's not a very highly traded player, and it makes it a little more difficult too, like when you're trying to find it just him straight up for something. But basically in the last few weeks, he did go for right around there. Like, I see one for the 202 and one for the 205. So yeah, maybe that's not too far off from where he's going. A couple of seconds, like a 25 and a 26 second. which I like that. But yeah, I see him for the 210. People using him to move up a lot, it seems like, which that's probably the caliber of player that he is.
He's the kind of player, and even a little bit lower if you go down the list of keep trade cut guys. Like if I can get off of Pacheco, get DeAndre Swift and a piece, like I'm super happy with it because like to me, I see those guys as very equivalent, similar players in terms of their production and what they're going to give me in 2024. Maybe Pacheco, you can pencil in. Well, I don't even know about that because Swift got a 3-year contract and he's definitely on the team for the next 2 years. So I kind of view them very like similarly, and I don't think people do. And I could be getting a player that puts up just as good numbers or even better numbers than Swift or than Pacheco in Swift, and I'm getting a piece. So like that, those are the moves I really like to do. So if I can get him as kind of like not necessarily a throw in, but like a tier down. So,
do you think that he gets 200 touches this year? Running back, touches, right? He gets 200 carries.
Yeah, I think he does.
Okay.
I think he does. So what's that? 11? Yeah, 11 and a half per game. Yeah, I think he gets that. Well, okay, assuming he stays healthy. So,
well, yeah.
If I had to factor in like health, just because it's likely running backs get hurt. Yeah, I think he does. I think he averages right there, like 12, 13 touches a game. Anywhere from that 11 and a half to like 13 carries a game. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd take the over if I could put money on that. I think.
Okay.
So, why do you think it's going to be less?
No, I was just kind of curious what you thought. Because I agree. Like I think he will get that 200 mark. Like I don't think he'll get too much more than that. And I kind of like wondering about like what his involvement in the passing game is in general. Like maybe you can speak to this as far as like rookie running back or rookie quarterback tendencies, but I've heard from a few different places, and I've never really dug into the data. I probably should be taking this a little more seriously and doing that. And just like, do they throw to their running backs very often? And when you got like guys that can get open quick alongside you with Kmet and Keenan Allen, like how does that affect Swift? And plus the rushing floor or the rushing tendencies that we're kind of expecting from Caleb Williams, where he's not going to be Lamar Jackson because no one's Lamar Jackson. I think I say that like every other podcast, but we know he's going to take off a few times. So I'm just kind of wondering what his involvement in the passing game is going to be. I think it's kind of an interesting question that I think it's going to factor in a lot of like his production.
Yeah. And so I'll answer that. Also to take into account, like Khalil Herbert, who has looked good at times, is still there, although they did go out and pay Swift as like the first free agent signed, I think. In the free agency period.
It was real quick.
No pun intended. And then Rachaad, they drafted, what was it, 3rd, 4th round, and it's still the same coaching staff and GM. So we do have to factor those in. I do think that the rookie thing, it's a little tough. I just think rookies in general are just not good for offenses and passing games because they take it slow. They're going to run a lot more. Not many rookie quarterbacks go over 4,000 yards and things like that. I think we have something a little bit different with Caleb, with just the receivers he has, that this offense is going to throw the ball more with a rookie quarterback. I guess I kind of look at like Devin Singletary's numbers with like Stroud. Just looking at a successful rookie quarterback, the most recent one, he had 23 catches in 10 games. So I could expect a slightly more for Swift, just knowing he's a better pass catcher in general. Like, I'd be surprised if he plays 17 games that he's not pushing 50 catches. So, which is 3 a game, essentially. So, yeah, I guess I have big expectations for Swift, 200 carries and 50 catches, like, which again, I don't think that's unreasonable. Now, you do have to take into account it is a rookie quarterback. So what if he struggles? Then that's going to hurt Swift touchdown opportunities and everything, right? So there is that to factor in for sure.
Yeah. Serious playmakers on his side of the ball for sure. Like he's, we've talked a few times around about Caleb Williams going into the best situation a rookie quarterback possibly has ever gone into with these guys that are around him, and Swift's a part of that. So it'll be interesting to see what Chicago looks like. And yeah, you're right. Like that's going to determine a lot of how successful Swift is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very nice. Good conversations. Let us know in the comments what you think. Give us a like and subscribe. And we will be back looking at some wide receivers in the next video. So we'll catch you all then.